Hello, entrepreneurs, and welcome to the Possibility Partners Show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, your Chief Possibility Officer, and I love sharing Ande-licious advice with entrepreneurial adventurers right here on the Possibility Partners Show. And these are conversations with seasoned entrepreneurs, all sharing their best tips, tools, and advice to help all of us keep ourselves and our businesses humming along. And I'm so happy that you tuned into this show. We have so much to talk about today. I want to say mwah, 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 hello to all the live participants. Thank you for bringing your delicious energy to the show today. We are so honored and thrilled that you're here. And to my replay viewers, it means the world to us that you've taken time out as well to watch this show. We're going to be covering a lot of information today. Now, I love staying connected with each and every one of you. You know where to find me at my favorite bar on social media. And yes, that's Twitter at Ande Lyons is where you can find me there. But hey, I am an equal opportunity social media user. So you can find me at all the social media platforms out there. Connect. I want to find out what you're doing. How are things going with your business? How may I serve you? And how our guests may serve you today. And to stay tuned in to future Possibility Partner shows, I invite you to please join me on YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ande-licious Advice. So you can see my fabulous guest here on the screen. Oh my gosh, we have such a conversation that we're having today because thanks to the Job Acts of 2012, things have changed. The environment has changed. The playing field has changed, especially for the small business entrepreneur. So we're digging deep today into a critical topic for startups, for small businesses, and that's how to raise capital, not just from accredited investors, and we'll talk about that, but from the general public. And this is a whole new way to bring equity folks into your business, sell shares in your company with your family, your friends, with your community, etc. So our guest today, as you can see right here, is Silicon Valley angel investor, equity crowdfunding expert. He also made it on Inc.'s list of entrepreneurs to be watching in 2016. He is the 14th most followed angel investor on Twitter. And he is so delicious. Please join me in welcoming the fabulous Manny Fernandez. Yay!
Amazing intro. I want to meet that guy. Thank you. You do a great job. I like how you promote your social media following. And the biggest thing I would suggest to many is build your social network now, because that's the foundation of equity crowdfunding, is people that are already connected to you. That's how you can get the message out without worrying about expensive ads. So first tip of the day. For those people that are out there that are entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs, I love you. You're doing something that most people won't do. And so if you have the ambition to pay attention and follow the simple tips and techniques that I'm going to provide, you can hopefully change your life and your future generation's life, because now is the time. So take it away, Ande. I'd love to answer any questions.
Okay, well, I'm so thrilled you're joining us here today. This can be a complicated topic, so we're going to take it in bite sizes. But before we dive into what exactly equity crowdfunding is and how it's changing in just about 90 days for regular folks to invest and how companies can take advantage of that, I want to start off with just a little bit of connection with you, Manny, and find out, how did you get here? How did you become an angel investor, an entrepreneur, and what compelled you to go down this journey? And even more importantly, what inspires you to help folks the way you do? So please share.
I appreciate that. When I was 20, I bought my first investment property, and I had support of different people in my network to help me. And I was doing well. I was buying a good amount of properties, but I asked a few people for advice on how to raise money, and no one knew the answer. It was really, really challenging. It was like getting punched in the face consistently, and you keep moving forward. And that's what life's about, moving forward. And then a breakthrough happened. I didn't meet an individual. He showed me how to raise a fund, and I raised money, and I was able to buy a portfolio of single-family homes. And then so that 2005, 2006, which is known at the peak of the market, our investors worked out really well, and I made some money because of it. And then I created an online brokerage that was acquired by the biggest, one of the biggest brokerages in Northern California. And when I moved to Palo Alto, I learned about angel investing, and I'm fortunate I always seek a good mentor. So that's probably a lesson number one, is think about who you want to help you, and be bold and try to figure out a way to get access to them and ask for advice.
Right.
See if there's a way that you can get some attention from them, and because they've done it, and they can analyze what you've done and help you get to the next step.
Right.
You got to ask, how do you go from zero to where you want to go? And I think mentors greatly helped me. And then I decided to focus our efforts in San Francisco. I created an angel group called SF Angels Group. I was honored that some of my mentors got together. I'm proud to say we have one early Google investor, early PayPal investor, and
Nice.
We're doing quite well. And through that experience, I was able to be a frequent judge panelist throughout Silicon Valley and different parts of the world. And one of the things I found is there's so many great entrepreneurs, maybe one of those that are paying attention now, that are just great, and they just need the capital to get to the next level. Or maybe they're not born in that network, or they don't have people in that network, maybe because they didn't go to the right schools. This information is all about you. And so I saw many, and I said, wow, even though we have strong funding capacities, we need to be able to expand. The funniest thing is that I also saw many investors that come up to me, they want to co-invest. But they didn't want to go from Palo Alto to San Francisco. They didn't want to do the drive. And then I saw people that didn't want to be part of our angel group, because I invited them to the angel group. Come on by. We have a lot of good vetted opportunities for you. We have very experienced professionals. I'd love to show you what we're doing. And I'll get a response where I'm from Singapore, I'm from London, I'm from New York, I'm from Texas. So I started to grab people's business cards, and I said, oh, this is interesting. And then something happened emotionally one day, and I saw so many great investment opportunities, which are startups. They're looking for funding. And I said, you know, I should create a system using this new world that will come to allow people to get access to capital. So I thought back in my early 20s, my first dream was to create a startup. My second dream was to get funded. And now as an angel, my dream is to fund the next big thing. So I created DreamFunded as a way that allows people to get a shot at what they're trying to accomplish. Does that make sense?
Oh,
So,
are you kidding?
know,
It's wonderful. And, you know, the whole mentor thing, I just want to remind viewers, one of my favorite Steve Jobs stories is how when he was 12 years old, he needed some help on something, and he called one of the HP founders.
Right. He was listed in a phone book.
Right.
So you figure out what you need and be bold about it and move forward. And don't worry about the potential rejection you're going to have. You know, you got to be a leader, and you got to go after what you're looking for. And I think that's one thing people wondering, well, how do you figure out how to get an angel? Well, first of all, you got to be a leader. You got to be very clear on your specific story. You got to be very clear. You can't talk about everything. You got to very clearly in a sentence, you know, like, hey, DreamFunded, we provide access to pre-IPO tech companies. And if that doesn't get an interest, then I won't continue on. But sometimes people approach me, hey, I'm going to do this X, Y, and Z rigid, this is that. Just 7 minutes into the conversation, I forgot what they said in the first 30 seconds. So you got to practice it in advance before you go out there. And crowdfunding is no different. You got to be very concise on your message.
Now, Manny, you have been interested in crowdfunding since just whispers of it started to happen in, what, 2010?
Yes. We're fortunate that some people got together and tried to create a new law, and I saw that this was going to work out, so I made some investments starting the real estate equity crowdfunding space, and expanded from there. And so we're really early.
Right, right. And when did you create your and co-create, I should say, because you're the CEO and co-founder of DreamFunded, which I love that name. When did you launch that platform?
The name was invented in December of 2014.
Everybody watching, you've got to grab this about him and get it about Manny. He deeply cares about entrepreneurs, startups, small businesses that are growing and making it happen, whether they're in his favorite area or not. He's deeply caring and compassionate about the journey, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I really get that in everything that you're doing. And I know it's from your own personal experience. I know it's because you've worked hard to get where you are today. So now we have, I mean, things have taken a while to evolve since the Job Acts. I mean, it was easy for for crowdfunding to happen in the real estate market. It was very tangible. Here's this house, here's this piece of property, who's in? And, you know, working with those folks who know how to flip it, good contractors, it was great. But businesses are very different, right?
They are.
So how Today, the equity crowdfunding has been more involved with what we call accredited investors. Explain to the audience what an accredited investor is.
What accredited investor is an individual. They call it angel investor, but the legal terms on the Security Exchange Commission since 1933, they say 200,000 a year in income, or if you're married, 300,000 in income, or net worth of $1 million. And as a self-certified, they call it check the box in the legal world, that people could be able to handle the loss if there was a loss. And the startup world, it's a high-risk business. So.
Right, and you have to have $1 million in net worth, and that does not include your home.
So either a high income or a net worth of $1 million, excluding your home, correct?
Yeah, that's challenging. And so part of the Job Act, when they set it up, it was to, loosen the market up, loosen some money up, and give startups a chance. And now we're, in about 90 days, we're going to have the opportunity, certainly with some paperwork, et cetera, to go in where we can get, I always put the earmarks, the general public, the non-accredited. So folks, if you have been enjoying, hopping over to any of your favorite gambling sites, why not find some wonderful startups and drop 10K, 15K, 20K into something fun like that? What do you think about that, Manny?
Well, the retail investor or the non-accredited investor can invest up to $2,000, so they can't do the $10,000. Accredited investors can invest as much as they want. It's interesting that you brought up the word gambling, because that's something that's not talked about, but it is high risk, and that's why any investor that happens to invest should build a portfolio of at least 20, because most fail and some break even and some are the small winners. Right. So you have to be able to invest in many, but since most of the people that are on the show are entrepreneurs saying, I don't care about investing, I want to be able to raise the money. So we're going to talk about some tips and techniques you can go about doing.
So let's get right into that, because we have, there's some great success stories out there. I just was reading something from Crowdfund Insider, I think it was, about a wonderful car company, 17 million they raised. Now, again, it was through accredited investors, angel investors, but 17 million using an equity crowdfunding platform. That's amazing. So where does an entrepreneur to start? How do they begin pulling together their business plan, their strategy, their team together to create a successful campaign?
Well, I think it's the same ways that if you're just trying to approach an angel, and some professionals are looking for the following: the team, large market, and early in the market. I want to rephrase that. The team, so people that may have the talent that can execute. Mm-hmm. Number two is a large market, and the biggest part is early in the market. Now, as an entrepreneur, you also got to realize that a large market and early in a market is critically important, because you want to eventually be successful. You don't want to just make less than you would if you had a job. So look at that when you create your venture. And don't get misled. Think, well, there's a large market, I'm going to tap into it. If there's already a leader in that market and you're doing something very similar, it's going to be a challenge for you to actually gain market growth. So now taking that to the equity crowdfunding side, you got to be able to sell your story, explain what you're doing in a concise way, because people are very busy. Yeah. And it's all going to start with your social network. So emails, people Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, people are already paying attention to you. That's why it's so important to get a big following now. And before you launch the campaign, make a few calls and try to see if you get supporters. $100, $500, $25, see what you can get. Right. And for those that says, I like what you're doing, but I have no money, they'll say it in other ways, by the way. You can say, well, when I launch my campaign, will you at least share it with social media? And if you get that as a yes, that's also a benefit, because you're going to pull in their network to help you with your funding. Does that make sense? And this is how some people raise millions of dollars. And I'll go into more advanced questions based on that.
So how do they identify the right registered platform to use? Because again, equity crowdfunding is so much different than regular crowdfunding, Kickstarter, which is more about donations in exchange for some, coffee mug or a T-shirt.
That's a good question. Let's talk about crowdfunding for a moment, and then we'll segue into equity crowdfunding. I'm going to use real life examples of things that we have been a part of. So one company called Notion, it's an Internet of Things company. It's our first company we funded outside of Silicon Valley. They're out of Colorado. And the founder thought about what he was offering. He scripted out a video thinking about what's in it for the other person, as well as providing different perks. they're fortunate at the end of 30 days, they raised, well, they're one of the top 25% campaigns of all time. And out of Colorado. But the most amazing thing behind it wasn't about the money that they raised, that they received a call from a very big VC firm. And this is a dream to many startups, that someone is paying attention. Well, one big firm, Draper Nexus, led by Tim Draper, paid attention, reached out to him, made an agreement, and that's how we heard about it, and we co-invested. They raised over $2 million, which publicized in TechCrunch. So an equity crowdfunding is a great way, a cheap way of doing marketing to people who would care, and then you can attract other people. So on the equity side, currently it's for accredited investors only. There's a lot of great platforms. They're all different. They're either one is an entrepreneur-led platform or an investor-led. So let me explain the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Entrepreneur-led is, so say there's different sites, you can pay a fee or it's free to list. It's free, but yet you still have to hustle to get the investors to pay attention to you using your social media, your Facebook, emails. But there's also investor-led platforms. So those that choose the investments, make an investment, and then allow others to co-invest, like DreamFunded. So we're an investor-led platform. So we find the investment, set the terms. We're unique because we're investing our own money. Remember, we started as an extension of our angel group. Right. So that's how we're a little bit different. But there's lots of platforms out there that either are free or you can pay a fee and work them all. Because each one has a unique investor base that are accredited investors that may like what you're offering.
Yeah, but what do you mean by work them all?
Well, what I mean by that is you can use the platform, and each one of them is just essentially a social media. So think about Facebook. You follow people, people may follow you back. Twitter, you follow people, people may follow you back. So when I say work them, you take one platform that we're on. You can work them by following people. Then they can pay attention to what you're doing. It's like tapping them on the shoulder. So you want to not just create a platform and sit back, boy, I can't wait till my 7 figures come in, because it doesn't happen. It starts off initially with your social network, and then you want to reach out to others, and if they start to following you, then you can send them a message, hey, I'm working on X, Y, and Z widget. Would this be something you're interested in? That's what I mean by working a platform. Each one has different investor networks. So use them all.
Wow.
Always be
and you can do that. You don't have to like sign an exclusive to be with one particular platform?
Not at all. Think of it as just a way of marketing.
I love that.
You just want to market what you're doing and see who's a fan and who's interested in it.
Yeah.
There's lots of capital. The weakness is on the startup side. So again, for those that are not in the networks, you'll say, well, money is hard. Money is hard. It's only hard when you're not a talented entrepreneur. If you're a talented entrepreneur and know how to do things correctly, money becomes easy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. Money becomes easy. But you're right. I think it's setting things up. And I've seen a few of these investor platforms where I know they have, 20 plus million under investment capable, but a lot of times the folks running these platforms aren't as connected as you, meaning that they've got, angel investors who are ready to go, accredited investors, but getting them to even open up the documents to even check out a deal gets tough. What makes you open up a document and investigate and check out an entrepreneur's pitch?
Well, I think that's a great question. If I understand correctly, you want to know what will open up, what will allow me to open up an email in this very busy world. We're people. So the question will go back to a question I would ask you, Andy. So if someone you knew reached out to you, would you respond to them?
Absolutely.
So with the social media now, it makes it so easy to figure out who's connected to whom. Mm-hmm. LinkedIn is a perfect example. You type in my name, you type in someone's name, it may show that I'm connected to that person. So if you sit there and I see Laura here.
Laura Verrilli, she's like the LinkedIn expert goddess.
So what you want to do is you want to get someone they're connected to send a message for you. And that makes it easier. So Andy, now you're connected to me, and if an entrepreneur reaches out to you and says, Andy, I have this great, the next Google, or I have this small business, or whatever the scenario is, and say, can you forward this to Manny? Therefore, I'm going to be responding to you because it's a disrespect to you for me not to respond because I don't know the entrepreneur. So think like that. It's more strategic, but you get a lot farther. You can do the cold emails. You do get a response. Maybe the response rates are 2%. Depends on who you are as an individual and what you're offering. But the response rate is really slim because there's many people that are very, very busy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think it's something I believe very strongly about on social media. I develop my relationships and build them one conversation at a time, so that my numbers feel very real to me. I feel like I've engaged and met the person because I vet everybody that I engage with. I see.
That's how you found me, right?
But I see how they participate. I see what they do. I see what they tweet or share or post and how they engage. And I go, okay, that's somebody I want to be hanging out with. Now, of course, there's a few, I mean, Lady Gaga does not have to respond to me, but I will follow her everywhere she glows. But for regular, you know, all of us who are on social media, building our community of folks. Right. It's so important. And also belly to belly. You're in San Francisco. I'm in Boston. Get out to the events. There's so much startup activity here in Boston. Mass Challenge has so many great things going on. My good friend Jocelyn Main with Boston Tweet Up, at Boston Tweet Up on Twitter, always posting wonderful events to attend.
Here's one last tip on social media. I met someone that's really, really famous and through a network. And I asked her, I said, how did you get such a big following? How did you rise? She said, well, I use social media. Okay, tell me more. She said, well, think about it as a one-time connection and a lifetime relationship, one to many. They buy a song, follow me on Twitter. Next thing you know, they're following the rest of my life. If I'm on stage, I'm talking, follow me on Twitter, people pay attention. Same thing I'm telling everyone here, start a relationship, follow me on Twitter. So I practice what I preach. But so think about meeting people in person, try to interact with them, and then add them to a social media. So when you make one message, it reaches everyone. So that's how you can spread the message greatly. And if you do it right, they can spread it to others for you. And that's how you go viral, and that's how you bring in the big money.
Speaking of which, before we get to Stephanie's and other folks' questions here, you had a wonderful viral experience recently when you went and spoke at Slush.
That was an amazing experience in Finland. They had over 15,000 people there. I never expected that. And, you know, the video right now, if you go on YouTube and type in equity crowdfunding, it's the #1 most popular video on equity crowdfunding. And I talk about briefly my story and then interaction with the different companies that I've been a part of in the equity crowdfunding space, as well as my investment in leading the site in Finland, Investor. So it provides a lot of tips and techniques in a greater detail, and people are sharing it. And that has about 196,000 views. We got to get it up to 200 plus. It will be with your.
It will be. I mean, Slush videos and speeches usually get about 7,000 to 8,000 views. 196,000, and not only that, I want the audience viewers to really hear this. Manny was asked to go to Finland. Okay, it's cold. He was in beautiful San Francisco. He's like, Slush, what? But you know, he thought, I'm going to go. I feel cold. I want to support. You know, look at beautiful downtown.
San Francisco for sure. You got to see that part, yeah.
And so he went. He showed up, and honest to goodness, that's such a valuable lesson. And look what happened. And also now you've been picked up not once but twice on Squawk Box, which is huge.
CNBC Squawk Box. I'm honored. You know, just have the right information. Hope I can help others along the way.
Absolutely.
Those that take action on the knowledge is important. Those that just sit back and act like this is a TV, you change the channel, oh, I'll do that one day. One day doesn't exist. You got to do it now. You got to take one of the pieces of advice while you're still motivated and take action on it.
That's right.
Because if you take action, magic happens. Without taking action, nothing happens. A lot of great things happen in our lives because we take action on whatever resource we had it. I mean, we are always underfunded organization, but yet, you know, I was able to use different tactics of marketing to help us be able to rise up, and you can do it too.
Absolutely. And I'll have the links for everybody to watch the Slush video, which is so impactful, as well as the Squawk Box interview, which is, I tell you, you know what Squawk Box is like. They take you right through the whole process, and you handled that so well. I was so proud and so pleased for you.
Yeah, I'm honored.
Yeah. So anyway, it's so important to put together a very quick 10 to 12 slide deck for a crowdfunding campaign, equity crowdfunding campaign, 10 at the max, right? Beautiful. And folks, Google Airbnb slide deck, okay? And I'll put that into my into the archive links as well. I think they're one of the best slide decks for a quick and dirty recap. So to answer Stephanie's first question here, which is how important are financial projections and a solid business plan going to be to crowdfunding investors? What do you say?
Well, I like to quote others, because if I say it, then people doubt me. If I quote an expert, then they may believe it. There's a gentleman by the name of Steve Blank. He teaches at Stanford, he teaches at Cal, and Columbia. And he says a business plan dies the moment it meets a customer. Business plan are great theory and fiction. In fact, I've been involved in funding companies since 2010. We're in 2016 now. Part-time, moving to full-time, and I read 0 business plans. It all comes down to the person and the slide because things change. In fact, I got an interesting story. You talk about a business plan. I'm going to show you a 10-page business plan. I met this gentleman that came up to me at an event. It's called Startup Showcase, and he wanted me to invest in his hair product. And I said, sorry, sir. I really couldn't understand him too much, maybe because the crowd was really noisy, but I said, I invest in internet and software companies. That's what I do. I do invest in real estate as well. And he said, okay. But then he turned to me, grabbed my arm gently, and I saw his sincerity in his eyes, and he said, can you help me raise money? Show me some knowledge? And it's something about how he said it reminded me when I was 19 asking the same question, because those that know how to raise money can really change their life, because that gives you a shot and hires others, and you're a great leader when you can do that. So I said, you know, I thought about it. There's a great PowerPoint that I've seen through our angel group, SF Angel. If you send me an email, you put the PowerPoint on the headline, I'm going to send you a copy of that PowerPoint. Well, you know, it's funny because he did it a few minutes later. I saw my phone go off, and I was able to get back to him a couple weeks. Then about 60 days later, he sent me an email. Thank you so much, exclamation point. I raised over $600,000. And I was really amazed by that. And many people wanted a copy of that PowerPoint. So what I did was, a lot of people were asking for my email address, and I couldn't get back to everyone. But now what I'm going to do is I just sent an email to the chat, getfunded@dreamfunded.com. You email getfunded@dreamfunded.com. What you'll find is a PowerPoint slide. You can go there, automatically send it to you, fill it out. You think through what an investor's looking for. What is the story behind your startup? Why did you create it? Who is the team? Who's your competition? How are you going to make money? How, based on your revenue, how is an investor going to make money? You got to think about that, because that's all they're thinking about. How are we going to make money? Are you going to be bought? Is it going to go IPO? Are you going to keep it forever? What will happen? And so think about things of that nature. And you went ahead and go to getfunded@dreamfunded. That's probably the best thing I could provide. And also, then you'll have a way to reach me. So if you have something good, you fill it out. You have a couple of questions, you can always respond based on the information there. And maybe you'll be one of the future companies that we host in May, because after we get approval from the SEC, the first time in 83 years, we're going to allow people to invest in companies. But I have to invest first before I allow others to invest, because I think that provides a great vetted system.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. And thank you for your generosity. And yes, to the folks in the audience today, if you go to getfunded@dreamfunded.com, it will be a prompted email process where you will be able to download the PowerPoint that Manny's talking about. And really, the KISS theory is so important when you're raising money. Keep it simple, sexy, silly, whatever. It just is so important to make that happen. Okay, so another great question. What services should founders look for from crowdfunding platforms? Which of those are included in the raise and which will cost extra?
Well, the truth about it is everyone's in it to make money. Yeah. And sometimes you pay for value, and sometimes you pay for things you can do yourself. I think the basics you can use on these different platforms. You have to pay extra for the services. I think it's you as an individual that has to promote the platform and share it with people and get people to pay attention to it. Right. One thing I do suggest is look at who raised a lot. And some of the platforms show that. You go there, you see what they've done, how they were able to package it. In fact, if you want to see a good platform, go to Crowdfunder. We're on Crowdfunder /DreamFunded. Mm-hmm. Our direction is listed clearly on the site. You'll also see many of the news coverages that I've been involved in Forbes, Fortune, being on CNBC. That helps with the credibility and shows that we can market without hiring a PR firm, if you will.
That's right.
And so looking at that and figuring out how to imitate that for your startup is more important. So you don't want to pay extra for the fees because you can learn it yourself. And it's important to learn it because once you understand the art of raising money, because it is an art and a science, understand it. And if things don't work out, you can do it again. And you can help many others do the same thing. That's why I'm so passionate about the subject. I've just been
Did you hear what Manny just said? If it doesn't work out, do it again. Yes.
Always. You have to. Never quit. Because entrepreneurship is learned by doing. It's not really learned in a classroom. I know this Stanford professor with a PhD in entrepreneurship. I said, boy, this guy must be rich, right? But sometimes you have to have the confidence in moving forward and actually doing something. You fail, you do it again, you'll learn by doing it.
And we have some in the audience asking about your education, one of the best schools in the world.
Well, the best education is education of life. So let me say that. Some people really brag about what education they may have, and I can tell you the best education is life. Just take whatever you have. And I think the best thing is to think about you're going to be competing with others always. And I think if you draft out, like, what are you really strong at?
Yeah.
And focus on that as a business. Don't focus on things that you're weak at, because you're going to lose.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So, are you kidding? Of course, you've got to focus on what you're good at. And I bring you, I mean, Stephanie, from Financeability, you get her background and how she services the world with her extraordinary talent. But what is the expected cost of a raise through equity crowdfunding? And, I see a lot of conversations about this from the experts out there, Manny. And I find, too, that a lot of folks get, oh my gosh, the legal fees and, the accounting fees, they're nothing compared to what you really need to invest. And I guess sometimes this can be time, but it's the marketing. How do you feel about that?
Well, if I was to say, I'm going to give you $1 and it cost, I'm going to raise $1.06, and I keep the 6 cents and give you $1, are you going to be mad at the dollar because you want that $1.06? People sometimes put so much limitations, their own self-limitations on why they can't do it. They set up their own mental roadblocks. So the biggest thing is there's different platforms that are free. There's a lot of great videos like the YouTube video that's going viral. And understand the techniques, and you can do it yourself. There are platforms that will try to charge you in advance. I wouldn't pay in advance. Why would you pay someone money in advance, especially if you have no money? So think about how do you learn the technique so you can do it yourself. Don't worry about paying others. Now, there's other platforms that are going to be like, well, you're hurting our business because we want to charge an entrepreneur $2,000 to get started. I just don't believe in that. I don't believe in certain groups that are charging entrepreneurs to pitch. I just don't like that sort of thing.
And
giving away my competitive advantage, someone asks, no one has the guts to do it. Most people don't. So if you have the guts to do it, go out and do it, because you can do it. It's like saying you're going to watch me box, right? And then you're going to copy exactly my moves and you're going to be a world champion. It doesn't happen like that. Everyone has different talents. I'm just trying to give people a biggest advice that they can have. And trust me, there's always great secrets that I'm not giving out. I'm just giving out the very basics. Hopefully that takes a person from zero to wherever they want to go, no matter what the zero is.
Well, not only that, you're coming from an abundant state of mind, Manny, so that, of course, you've got plenty to give. See?
Beautiful background. That's a beautiful background, right?
That's a
Look at that.
Beautiful background. San Francisco.
Of San Francisco, and we have more funding here than any other part of the world. Has to do because we have a lot of knowledge as well? Well, take it. I'm providing that knowledge, and if you have the confidence to move forward, you can do it.
Hey,
that's the biggest.
One of my favorite places to get daily information is from Crunchbase. Is that what it's called? I love the information that comes in, who's getting funded, whether it's VC, angels, crowdfunding. And I also like angel.co as a place to find out who's investing, who's there. What do you think about that?
I think that when I was younger, I studied people that got funded, and I'll say, wow, they just raised X million with no traction, no idea. Sometimes it could make you think that's the world is that way. And I think the biggest answer that I got after trying to look into why these big companies were funded or small companies is the team. It's always the team. That's who they're betting on. So
right.
Don't worry about other companies are getting funded. Worry about being a leader, building a great team, showing some traction, and then you'll be able to raise what you want. I don't think that's paying attention to why others are getting funded. It dilutes, it just confuses a person. Focus on your startup, create a great product, execute like crazy, make it your life, just focus on it. Don't think I'm gonna wake up at 5, wake up at 8 and go to sleep at 5 because it's a short day. You have to put a lot into it. There's no time clock, if you will. You just gotta keep going and take your idea. The more you know it clearly, you notice all the mistakes I'm making during this talk here, because I'm just a normal guy that wants to help others. The more you understand your startup, the more clearly you can become, the more clear you can get it out to others. You are the walking billboard. So you could tell others to follow me, and they would want to follow you because you know exactly where you're going and what direction. Then you can build a great team. If you look at your team, you say, well, I'm going to build a tech company. And you say you're not a talented programmer. Well, that's for one problem. as an entrepreneur, you got to be a problem solver. You got to think about who is a talented programmer that you can add to the team. And also think about what's in it for them. Remember, what is in it for them? Why should they spend their time with you? And in order to attract someone that's talented, you have to know some of the basics. You know, there's great videos online about programming. Understand some of the basics so you have a conversation with them. Because you don't want it to be, I'm the business person and you're the low-life programmer, although most programmers get paid more than small business people. You want to be able to say, this is why you need to be part of a team. Remember, it's not about raising money so much, it's about who you are as a person. The techniques of raising money comes easily because there's so much opportunities out there on the internet that people want to support you if you follow these type of the methods. If they see you, and they see a talented programmer, like we have a talented programmer, Min, who's a at Stanford University, and we have a former Googler. Notice this is not accidental. I didn't wake up one day and go to Starbucks and say, hey, you want to be part of my team? It doesn't work like that.
Yep, you built those relationships and those connections, and so important. And next week we're going to have David Breyer on the show talking about why nobody cares about your brand. It's so important that you really understand there's nobody as unique as you are. So I don't care if somebody's doing exactly what you're doing it. They're not doing it your way with your deliciousness. And so what you need to focus on is what Manny was just saying, and tremendous advice. Focus on your startup and your business and doing it your way, but always, always, always remember what is in it for them. Nobody cares about your why, your what, your how, your anything. They care about them and their lives, and these are your customers and the folks that you're serving, and including your team and your employees. So you really have to, internally as in the culture, as well as externally with your clients and customers, focus on what's in it for them. Yay!
Yes, I like to tell a quick story,
okay,
and it's because I think we remember stories better than we remember just the facts and figures. And so everyone's favorite radio station is WIIFM, What's in it for me? And the moment you talk about what's in it for them, it's like music to their ears. Now, you guys should do a lot of clapping on that one.
Yeah, we will. Come over here, give you props.
But if you talk about what's in it for you, you're just going to hear static. So think about everyone's favorite radio station is always on. Think about in advance what's in it for the other person, and play that music. And you can do that through equity crowdfunding really well if you think in advance before you launch your campaign, and then reach out to your network through social media and show why others want it. And you can create great traction on different sites like Kickstarter.
Right.
And if you use the PowerPoint that I provided, it'll think through what investors are looking for, the professionals. And then you can hopefully achieve your dreams.
You are so delicious and so generous. Thank you for that. Let's talk a little bit about the general public investors. These are now, again, it's going to be sometime in March or so when we get to
March. You have to go through an approval process through FINRA and the SEC. Once you're approved, then the new funding portals will exist. That's going to allow 90% of Americans to be able to take advantage of investing early. And those that are listening that are potential investors, invest in a portfolio, keep the dollar amount slow. And for those entrepreneurs that are out there, build your social network now, because we're a few months away before this will happen. And you want to be able to create your own broadcasting system. You want to be able to push a button and it reaches lots of people. You don't want to create a crowdfunding platform and now I got to work on building my Twitter account. Now I got to work on building my email addresses and my LinkedIn. No, you do that in advance. Notice I have over 100,000 plus followers. There's a reason for that. I want to help many entrepreneurs that are out there that are not in the networks. And hopefully you can see that just because of my passion.
And I think you can follow some of the best authors out there who do a phenomenal job before their launch date to build the swell, get everybody going, get on the shows, do everything that they can to build the excitement so that when they launch that book that day, it goes right to bestseller. I think that's similar to what you're talking about.
Absolutely the same. It's the same concept. It's been done before. The only thing new about it is the laws are getting out the way, allowing everyday people to be able to invest, but all the fundamentals are the same.
I love it. I am so excited because now you've got a community of folks who $100, $1,000, 5,000, it's doable for them. And if they lose it, it's not like, wow, they can't eat. They've been through the vetting process and they're so passionate about what you're doing. They really get you. They love your product. They want to be your rock star fans. what better way to capitalize this? And so often, so many companies die on the vine for lack of money. And I talk about Damon John's new book, The Power of Broke. Yes, that's wonderful. You learn how to do things without the filter of too much money. But at the same time, many companies will falter if they're not capitalized enough. And we don't want that to happen for your startup, which is why the equity crowdfunding is a great platform and great opportunities. And I have another question here because, Stephanie, she just rocked it ahead of time, put all her questions in. She knows how to use this platform format beautifully. What are the reporting and compliance requirements for companies raising equity via crowdfunding? Remember, the Securities and Exchange Commission has their fingers in this, and there's a lot of laws going on. So this is a very good question. Do they need audited financials, legal opinions, etc.?
That's a good question. Check back in May. Up to a certain dollar amount, you don't need audited financials. After a certain dollar amount, you would. And so if you're a brand new company and there's nothing really to audit, so think about that. When you get to audit the cost of the opening, the corporation, and the cost to pay the legal, the attorney, and the accountant. So again, these are great questions. What the biggest question is you should be asking is, how do I build up my social network? How do I build a better business so the public would want it, that the everyday person would understand it, that would want to be a part of it? All the legal stuff, you can figure that out easily through an attorney, and there's many attorneys that provide free counsel, but no one's going to help you market what you're offering.
See, and we've got a couple of gals in the audience right now, Sherry Elise and Anna Pereira, who have the Wellness Universe. They've already built the platform. They already have folks who love it, who are benefiting from it. This is an established business that's ready to soar and really benefit the universe. And this is, you gals have done an excellent job in creating what Manny is talking about now. A lot of regular, Kickstarter crowdfunding campaigns have the coveted video. How do you feel about that as part of your marketing campaign?
Oh, well, I'm going to grab my laptop charger because the thing is dying.
Oh, no.
So I'm plugging it in. So I'm letting you see another view while I do that. When I think about a video I think a video should be you.
The video should be you. If you spend a lot of money on someone else creating the great glamour and glitz, that's not sincere. People are human beings, and the reason people invest, and I pause for a reason. In the angel world, people invest because of emotion. They're doing it because they like the entrepreneur. And then they back it up with logic. So people think, well, I need the perfect business plan, I need the perfect financials. That's financial theory or business plan theory. It always changes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And okay, Manny, typical entrepreneur, can wing it, can go take care of things, multitask, solve a problem on the fly like a charger, and still be chatting with all of us about equity crowdfunding. I think it's a great opportunity, folks, to get out there and really see what other people who have been successful on these platforms, how they're doing it. Yes, you're going to spend some money, but if you were raising with an investment banking firm, you'd be paying a certain fee. If you had someone helping you raise, you'd be paying a fee. So yes, you're going to pay some money to your accountants, to your legal folks, to some marketing folks, but do your groundwork ahead of time. Pull your passion together, put it into your 10-slide deck, and just go for it.
Yeah, and be a walking billboard. So once you do the PowerPoint, you want to memorize it, because what you want to do is make the business you. So what I mean by that is, don't sit back and say, well, can I have 15 minutes so I can pitch my startup and I can show you the PowerPoint? Internalize it just based on a story. So let me give you a quick story.
Okay, good.
As an angel investor, I'm honored to found SF Angels Group. I've been a frequent judge, panelist, and speaker. And what I found is many promising entrepreneurs, but many investors want to co-invest with us. So I thought about quickly, how can I help both sides? My first dream was to create a startup. My second dream was to get funded. Now my dream is to fund the next big thing, if you will. So I created DreamFunded to help both sides move forward. I was scratching my own itch, if you will. So as an entrepreneur, you got to think about how you created your company and create it as a story. Stories spread virally. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so the other folks, if they're not even interested in that, then you're saying the wrong story. Think about how do you tie it into what's in it for them, the customer. And investors are customers. your first customers that give you a long runway to build your vision because they're betting on you, the individual. So now, then you take the PowerPoint, you really understand step by step. So when you're having a conversation, you're talking about the PowerPoint without showing the PowerPoint. So therefore, you can pitch more often. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
But that's hard. I mean, I didn't say this is going to be easy. This is hard.
No, but listen,
the timing, you get the results.
You could come, be exiting the restroom and run into your ideal investor. And Manny brought up a really important part. You can have the best idea in the world. They're not going to really be investing in the idea. They're going to be investing in your ability to execute and to implement, right?
Ideas change all the time. I always talk about being a leader because one person, I said, you have to be a leader. And the guy said, well, there's enough leaders out there. I said, no, history has shown there's never enough leaders. There's always enough followers, never enough leaders. So you got to rise up, be a leader, be clear, and attract people to your team, and then be able to execute behind that leadership. And I say that because that's an important thing. We back leaders. So the first thing, if you're not a leader, think about why you're not a leader and come back as a leader. And there's ways we can tell.
Hey, I got to tell you, what's not to love about Manny? Okay, Manny, let's wrap things up here. What possibilities are you seeing on the horizon? I know you were just saying some of your third dream, which is to fund the next big thing, but what are you seeing on your immediate horizon for you, for DreamFunded?
Sure. Well, in March, I have a book coming out. Every day is I'm confused here. Every Man's Guide to Investing in Pre-IPO Companies coming out in March. We'll release it in New York.
Oh, that's exciting.
In May, every day people can invest. So that's the first time in 83 years. We're making history now, even talking about it. And I see a lot of opportunities where people are going to get funded to help them build their business that they never had before. So we're ready for the growth, and we have a great team. And if you are interested in being part of our newsletter to just keep up to date on information I learned from investing in different crowdfunding platforms that can help you instantly. You're not going to find this in any books. You can find this based on a newsletter. So you just send me an email at info@dreamfunded.com, info@dreamfunded.com. Put headline newsletter. I'll add you to that newsletter. And then you'll have up-to-date tips, and as well as a way to reach me. So maybe I'm the one funding you next. Who knows?
Awesome. And be sure to follow Manny on Twitter, right here at Manny Fernandez. And he's always sharing great advice, just like he is today. But get that newsletter. Go to info@dreamfunded.com. And earlier, we talked about how you could get that slide, that PowerPoint. And that was get funded at
DreamFunded.com.
Beautiful. Any last words of advice for our viewers today and all the incredible entrepreneurial adventurers out there?
Now the hard part starts. What is the hard part? Taking this information and actually using it, building up your social network, organizing all your emails, thinking through in advance what you're providing, thinking about what's in it for the other person, as well as building a great team. How do you build a great team with no money, people say? Well, are you eventually going to raise money? Well, show them the vision. If I raise X, will you be part of the vision? You've got to be creative as an entrepreneur, be trustworthy, be above board, tell everyone what you're trying to accomplish. Everyone wants to make money, so don't have to hide that. You want to make money, I want to make money. The hardest part is actually taking action. Eliminate the analysis process. You're going to sit back, you're going to analyze everything before you move forward. That's the way that our brain stops us. You got to execute aggressively. And just take step 1, step 2, step 3. And before you get started, I would strongly suggest realize that if your first dream is to do whatever it is, say if your first dream is to be whatever it may be. So that's a problem that you have because you're probably not there. You got to figure out why you want that. So before you take action on information, really write out why you want the capital to build your business. How would that change your life? How would it change other people's lives? And then think about what questions you may be missing. Then you can email info@getfunded, because what you want to do is go from step 1 to step 2, and usually that second step is either yourself not taking action, or step 2 is you may not know what the next step is. So we have a strong network with people that's been there and done that, if you will. We provide that information because that's one way of philanthropy, helping out others through knowledge as well as capital. And the biggest thing, as I would suggest to entrepreneurs out there, is be coachable. Be coachable. And there's a popular song by Pitbull. One of the songs he talks about, ask for money, get advice, ask for advice, get money twice. And I think he's a professional fundraiser, because if you want to reach out to an investor and you don't want the investor shutting you down, approach with, I need some advice doing whatever I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Yes. That's it. All about asking help and then listening. Don't wait to get somebody to go, oh, yeah, you're doing a great job doing what you're doing. No, you want the advice to help move you forward, get that money, everything you need for your business, because your business is like your child. It's amazing. All right, everybody. Yes. Thank you so much for tuning into the Possibility Partners Show today, everybody. A round of applause to our wonderful guest here, Manny Fernandez. And you know you can find him at DreamFunded.com. You can find him on Twitter at Manny Fernandez. I will have links in the archives to everything that we mentioned here today. Please feel free to reach out to me or Manny with any questions after you watch, the replay, or after you digest some of the phenomenal information provided today. I'm wishing everybody, as you know, I got to tell you, I am so grateful that you found the courage inside of you to pursue your entrepreneurial dreams. I am in awe and wonder of you every single day. I am cheering you on every single day and wishing you an Andelicious day. See you at the next time. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thanks again to our wonderful host, Manny. So great to have you.
Let's keep the conversation going. Follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back today. Thank you so very much.
Awesome. Hello, entrepreneurs, and welcome to the Possibility Partners Show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, your Chief Possibility Officer, and I love sharing Andelicious advice with entrepreneurial adventurers right here on the Possibility Partners Show. And these are conversations with seasoned entrepreneurs, all sharing their best tips, tools, and advice to help all of us keep ourselves and our businesses humming along. And I'm so happy that you tuned into this show. We have so much to talk about today. I want to say mwah, 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 hello to all the live participants. Thank you for bringing your delicious energy to the show today. We are so honored and thrilled that you're here. And to my replay viewers, it means the world to us that you've taken time out as well to watch this show. We're going to be covering a lot of information today. Now, I love staying connected with you.